Thank you very much. I call Stuart McMillan to be followed by Graham Simpson.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. I think it's quite fitting to have this debate on the eve of the budget announcement tomorrow by the Finance Secretary. So I do welcome the fact that the Tories have actually brought it to the Chamber this afternoon. I also welcome the Tories showing their inability to count yet again, with their demands far outstripping any possible additional finance coming to this Parliament. There are 1.5 billion of demands versus the 1.1 billion of resource. Now, the Tories yet again today... Okay.
Fraser.
I wonder if Mr McMillan could do what the Finance Minister failed to do and explain how he arrives at the figure of £1.5 billion for measures which cost at a maximum £777 million.
Stuart McMillan.
I think Murdo Fraser needs to do his own research. Right. The Tories yet again today have shown their inability to actually understand the devolved situation that this Parliament actually operates under. But that isn't a surprise, Presiding Officer, because, well, as we know, the Tories didn't want this Parliament in the first place. Now, I wasn't surprised by the Lib Dems amendment, which wasn't taken. I mean, clearly, once again, the Lib Dems have proven they are obsessed with the Constitution. At every turn, they attempt to make every debate in this chamber a constitutional debate with a reference to federalism. Now, when one of them actually speaks later on, maybe they can provide a coherent explanation as to what their view of federalism actually is. After about 100 years, I thought actually they would have managed to provide some type of proposal by now. But their amendment started out so well, highlighting the farcical situation that this Parliament faces annually, and particularly this year. Presiding Officer, returning to the Tories, once again, their true colours have shown through today. Yesterday, they fought and failed on the issue of the independent school sector. And today, they argue for a tax cut for the rich, which would remove £270 million from the budget, according to the Fraser of Allender Institute. Now, the Tories are clearly focusing their attention to a reducing number of supporters and voters, and that's quite entirely up to them. Losing 7 seats at the recent election, losing 3.5% of their vote, and also 65,000 votes. That tells a story. Cutting the tax take will actually make it harder for many communities. And I can assure the Chamber that I don't have that many people in my constituency coming to me or contacting my office who are earning over £100,000 per annum. I do have many people who actually are earning a lot less and at the lower end of the scale. Now, I represent Greenock and Inverclyde, and I'm proud to represent my home. Now, we have always had our challenges, and we really haven't fully recovered as a community since the reduction in the shipbuilding and heavy engineering industries since the early 1980s. And it's something I've spoken about in this chamber before. We've lost over 30,000 people who have got on their bike because they had to get on their bike. And even with the following measures that the Scottish Government have introduced in recent years, there are still challenges to my community. Over 1,300 new social homes have been built since 2007. It's over £40 million has come into my constituency. Over £10 million in building and refurbishing schools since 2007. Nearly £5 million in the People Equity Fund over the last 2 years. Over £770,000 in the Welfare Fund for this year. And over £20 million for the new Greenock Health Centre, and over £7 million for the new continuing care hospital in Greenock. In addition, the Scottish Government have invested £12 million in helping bring diodes to Greenock, saving 300 jobs, and also taking over Ferguson's in Port Glasgow, saving over 300 jobs. If the tax cut for the rich that the Tories want, if that were to go ahead, then my community and others would be under even more economic challenges. Now, Murdo Fraser jokingly spoke of the Boris bonus, but this may for some people, this is actually just about money coming back to this Parliament because of the austerity, the deep austerity measures and cuts that the Tory party have inflicted upon Scotland and the rest of the UK. Sure.
Arthur.
Would the member agree with me that the real Boris bonus has been the bounce in the opinion polls for independence?
Stuart McMillan.
I couldn't agree more, Mr Arthur. But we also know that according to Boris, and I'm quite happy if any Tory wants to actually stand up and defend Boris in this, we also know that Holyrood doesn't matter one jot to Boris Johnson. Now, today the Tories are lauding Boris Johnson, but I wonder if they will laud him for his thoughts on this Parliament as well. Now, I welcome the fact that 55% of the Scottish taxpayers pay less income tax than they would if they lived elsewhere in the UK. I welcome the fact that the health budget is over £14 billion this year. I welcome the fact that local authorities received £11.2 billion, a real terms increase of £310 million this year. I also welcome the fact that car parking charges at NHS car parks were abolished. But sadly, our government can't abolish the PFI contracts agreed to by the Labour-Liberal administration before. And I'm sorry, time's short. Presiding officer, Rhoda Grant mentioned food banks earlier. Last year, over 8,000 three-day food parcels were issued in Inverclyde. Many of these were as a result of the UK austerity agenda and welfare reform by the Tories. So whilst the Tories defend the rich and the wealthy by wanting the tax cut for their pals, I support the income tax proposals thus far helping my constituents. And today was more of the same from the Tories, and I look forward to the budget being delivered tomorrow. Thank you very much.